Hey everybody, hey, just a quick members only video. I want to thank you all for supporting me and joining membership. Again, if you support me, I support you. If you have any comments or any questions, please feel free to shoot. I'm just going to do a quick video here to kind of talk to you about the markets in general. I think the S&P 500 closed the month a relatively decent candle. Initially, it was going to look a little bit more like a shooting star when the candle body was like underneath right here, and that got me a little bit scared to be potentially a little bit like a toppy candle over here, right? But no, it just kind of ended up closing back above. So this is actually not a bearish look to it at all. And QQQ, also didn't really close as a shooting star candle either. So that makes me feel pretty decent about what the market's going to do moving forward. IWM is just like completely beasted. Like this candle over here again, it reminds me of like a breakout candle like we did over here in November 2020, breakout candle over here in November 2016, and another breakout candle like gapped up over here in January 2013. And these kind of like really breakaway candle really does bring on a lot longer kind of a bull trend here. I don't really anticipate things to just could go shooting up like that, but I do want to say I think the S&P 500, even though we didn't really close bearish on this month, it still looked a little bit overextended away from the blue line. I generally like bull market to kind of stay away from, stay really closer to the blue line, not that get too overextended. If it does, usually corrects through price or through time. And that's generally how like a healthier bull market would be, right? It is a little bit overextended. I mean, granted, I think next month the ticket might go up a little bit, but it's probably not going to go up by that much. The month after that, you might go up a lot more. I'm just eyeballing all these candles, just basically telling what I'm seeing. Let's see, I take that back. Next month, I think the 10 is going to shoot up like maybe to around like to 5, 10, 5, somewhere around that range, just based on the math. And that may not be as overextended anymore, but I can still potentially see that the S&P 500 might end up just kind of have a little bit of a muted, uptrend or muted response, kind of go sideways here around the 560s, 570s over the next 2 months. I can totally see that. When IWM is not overextended at all, and it could potentially just continue to keep going up. I think the 10 condition is going to end up shooting up. I made another video about the katana. I think this katana is going to probably work out pretty well. It's going to be a pretty powerful move over the next 6 to 12 to 18 months, somewhere around there. And what I'm going to see here is, again, I think this is very similar to this November 2020 candle, right? So next month, I still see like a pretty bullish continuation of IWM. I don't think it's going to be like more than like 15%, like what Tom Lee is saying. But I still think it's probably going to be like a few percent up is my best guess. When you are looking at, the S&P 500, if you're looking at like, you also have a little bit of a breakaway candle over here in around 2020. But the months after that, you really have like 3 kind of sideways candles over here that didn't really go anywhere. It wasn't bearish. It also just wasn't super bullish. It just kind of went sideways, right? I can potentially see IWM doing something like more of like a bullish continuation when the S&P 500 may be a little bit more of like a muted response to wait for the blue line to kind of catch up a little bit before its bullish continuation. It's just the way that it works. These are stocks. They follow gravity. Interesting thing is, I think QQQ actually is not as overextended as the S&P 500. They actually end up correcting a little bit more. So I can actually see QQQ to potentially running up together with the IWM in the foreseeable future, just because QQQ really wasn't as overextended as the SPY, which is quite interesting to me. Now, what is not overextended, what is actually hasn't really even started running yet, was the ARK fund, like all these ARK stocks. We basically had a bullish cross, and we basically closed the month back above the Tenkan. So these are very bullish signals, if you will, and these kind of stocks might end up starting to pick up over time. I mean, it's been forming a bull trend. It's just a little bit of a muted bull trend. It's been forming higher high, relatively higher low compared to that. Higher high, higher low. It's still a bull trend, but I just think that the reaction is just a little bit muted here, in terms of ARK fund, but it might change soon because it's not overextended, and like the S&P 500 is just like way overextended. So I think rotation is going to happen. I think it's going to be pretty decent. A couple other things too. Just look at the yields. You just look at what yields that are doing. It just looks like it's rolling over. It's been rolling over. It looks like it's continued to roll over. And 2-year actually looks a little bit worse than 10 years. So you might be talking about the 2-year potentially you know, inverted, I guess, an inverted yield curve might happen relatively soon, just because 2 year really does look like it's rolling over. Like it might not be as apparent on the Ichimoku cloud, but you look at the 20-month moving average, it's like broken underneath of it pretty convincingly. It's downward sloping. So even if you have a little bit of a back test, it's still going to be a downtrend. The 10-year is broken down underneath the 20-month moving average here too, which again, that's also a indicator that I think yields are probably going to end up dropping relatively soon. And even though the Fed funds rate is at 5.5%, I mean, the bonds market has already sniffed it out. It's already looking like it wants to do a trend change. The yield look is already look very, very exhausted. It wants to go down. So I don't really care what like Jerome Powell says. I don't really care about any of that. You look at the trend for U.S. liquidity is still going up. So I think the overall market is still going to go up, especially if the U.S. Liquidity, the U.S. M2 money supply is going to keep going up. Money could rotate from one place to another, but overall, I think like a greater trend is coming in terms of potential upsides. Even for Bitcoin, I really, like even though the price action so far is not that favorable, for like really over for like the last few months, it's just been going sideways. I still think that this is a bullish chart because it is finding support where it needed to find support. The blue line is just pushing up, and it found support where it needed to find support. This look over here looks like a fractal over here, and the tank in the blue line just keeps on pushing up. So it's going to serve as support to kind of push price up higher. This is still a very nice bull trend as far as I'm concerned. Even if you look at the weekly, like I'm not really that scared because price is still above the Tenkan on the weekly. Like it looks like it wants to have like a little bit of bullish continuation. Could bounce down to the blue line, down to like 62,700, somewhere around there. Could bounce to the bottom of the support band, which is right around the confluence zone, right around like 62,300, 62,400, somewhere right around there, before this bullish continuation. I talked about this during my live stream yesterday. I think it's a possibility. It looks like it might gravitate down towards that area, or it may not. It's hard to say right now. It's just kind of stuck inside a bullish support band. And look, it does look like it wants to go down a little bit lower, to be completely honest with you. So that could be where you might end up finding support, and that might be where you end up, bouncing. If not, you can potentially come back down here to like 58,000 for a little bit of a higher low before going up. But I think most likely around like 62,000 zone might be it for Bitcoin. And I just have a hard time seeing it going really that much lower, really because of the yield curve, not the yield curve, because of the U.S. Money supply is just going up. So I have a hard time seeing Bitcoin really consolidating down for too long. I think money just kind of rotating from one place to another. But the next one to shine is probably going to be IWM, is what I'm seeing. Anyway, well, thank you so much for joining my membership. I'm going to stop talking now. Have a good one. Bye.